Welcome back, all our 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ.
And I'm Lane.
And we are here with Tim's Nation to bring you another Warhammer 40K battle report. So there is a lot of new detachments, and we want to play them all. And we're going to play them all.
There's so many I want to try.
And we are going to play them all. But there's a couple of things. Number one, World Eaters just dropped this morning, and I was going to try and slap together a list to see if I couldn't get them on the channel. There's a couple of rule interactions that I want to check on beforehand. And because my big thing, I don't want to throw something sloppy. I'm not saying what I'm going to build is going to be good, but I don't want to put something sloppy on the channel. Then there's Imperial Agents, which Imperial Agents is a mishmash of our units that I have, units that Lane has, and units that Lane has. So with that, the holiday season, that's been kind of messy too. So we're getting that together, getting the units here. So we will be bringing those two. Those two armies will be featured on the channel. For this week, after last week and me on the highest of high horses with my Grey Knights, I'm bringing back for the holiday season those Holy Knights to face off into the Adeptus Custodes, the good old battle of silver and gold. And this should be a true
very festive.
Very festive, very festive. Silver and gold. And yeah, this is it's Christmas week.
Merry Christmas, everybody. For those that celebrate.
For happy holidays to everyone out there. And again, thank you everyone for all the support this year and going forward. So we had planned that we were going to, after the last game, Lane and I discussed it, we were going to do Custodes versus Grey Knights because of the fact that Custodes are the toughest, strongest, most durable matchup going into what I am running with the Grey Knights detachment. And because of the holidays, because of getting the armies together, because again, this was the best time to do it for many, many reasons. So that's what we're bringing here today. So keep tuned, stay tuned, keep watching. We will be bringing all of the detachments, playing all the different ones out here. And maybe at some point I could poke Lane into playing Votann.
I don't know. I don't like the new. Now there's a lot of other stuff I want to try before Votann, so no thanks. I'm excited to run these custodians in the Solar Spearhead detachments, the Grosmus detachment, and does some interesting things for the vehicles and dreadnoughts. I played in a little tournament this past weekend and had to play against this twice, so it's very popular already.
So you have a little experience in what the detachment can do.
Yeah, and congratulations to Nathan. He actually won the tournament with this detachment. So it's pretty decent. It's pretty strong. So we'll see how it does today.
All right. Well, let's jump over and take a look at it, and then we'll go from there. So, Lane, what do you got?
All right. So this is 2,000 points even of the Solar Spearhead Custodes detachment. So if you're looking at a picture of this, you'll see that there are no infantry characters because part of this detachment allows me to make 2 of my dreadnoughts into characters. So that's what we did today. So our characters are the Telamon Dreadnought, who has the Augury Uplink enhancement, which gives him a 5-up feel no pain. And then the Galatis, the Painted Galatis, gets the other enhancement, the Adamantine Talisman, which gives him +1 to his attacks, +1 to his strength, and +1 to his damage. Moving on, we have another Galatis, unfortunately not painted yet. And then we have an Achilles Dreadnought. We have 4 of the Sisters of Silence Prosecutors. Go out and score some secondaries for me. 2 3-mans of the Venatari. We're using the spears on them. We've got 2 3-mans of the Virtus Praetors. The jet bikes are back. And then we do have 1 of the Achilles Dreadnoughts. And we have 2 of the Caladius Grav Tanks. DJ, what are you bringing today?
All right. Making its return is going to be the Warpaint detachment of the Grey Knights. For this list, I have 3 standard Nemesis Dreadknights, Side Cannon Silencer, and Hammers. You have 1 of the Grand Master Dreadknights, Side Cannon Silencer, Hammer. You're also going to have the enhancement that he can target a unit at the beginning of any phase with an 18 and count that unit as being in hollowed ground. That's a once per game effect. We have 2 10-mans of the Purifiers, 1 with 4 Incinerators, the other one with 4 Side Cannons, and Castle and Crow will be joining the Incinerators again today. We do have a 5-man squad of the Purgation Squad. These are the guys that are have indirect fire. A 10-man of Strike led by a Brotherhood Champion. The Brotherhood Champion is going to have the Radiant Champion ability for some little bit of extra damage. And last, the Calidus Assassin. So there's been a lot of talk with this detachment, and I've seen a lot of people that have been, some lists that are migrating over to some more Razorbacks. One thing that I miss with the detachment is Razorbacks, if they shoot at a unit, and the unit inside disembarks. And that unit also attacks that unit. So this works in combat as well, apparently, because I was reading it. You can get reroll wounds. So nice you have a Stormbolter on a Razorback, shoot the Stormbolter at a unit, not really caring to do any damage, you just need to hit. And now whatever got out of the Razorback, whether it can charge or not, whether it can shoot, servitors, multi-melts, all that jazz, can reroll wounds. Pretty strong, pretty nice, not my play style. I don't play that vehicle style of it, and a lot of people, I've seen some people compare it to Iron Hands. I have spent my entire career destroying Iron Hands, so no, I will not play Iron Hands. Not any flavor, not Grey Knights, not nothing. No. But this is more into my wheelhouse, my play style. It's very quick, it's very mobile. That play style doesn't do as much with the pickup up and down of it, maybe later into the game, not early on into it. I like to utilize that aspect throughout the game. I could see some changes to this list, which I'm sure today that's going to show me some of those, to be able to have, the Land Raider I've considered. The Land Raider out of this detachment is pretty nasty. Having reroll hits and then the las cannons, that's vicious.
Absolutely.
But initial impression, this plays more to my play style. I feel like it plays better into the late game where the Razorbacks and stuff, that's one good solid hit, but then you have to do a lot of work to continue that pressure.
Yeah, to do that again, you have to get them back in, and then they have to get out the next turn. It's like, well, then it's one good hit, which we know sometimes can work really well. It's just a question of whether it hits hard enough to make that difference.
Right, and that's a big part of it. So that's kind of a question. I think I'll probably at some point give it a try, just to see how it feels. But also, again, with the vehicles, you're going to run into yourself. And that's one thing I don't like doing. I don't like getting that congestion. I don't feel comfortable with that on the table, where I feel more comfortable with how the Grey Knights play, with being able to pick up, drop down. And also, for every Purifier squad and Razorback, that's basically the cost of a Dread Knight. Man, I love these Dread Knights. Dread Knights just multifaceted.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Now, other way, if that's what you're comfortable with and that's how you like it, you hear me say it all the time. I say it in Army reviews, I say it in detachment reviews. A big thing about this game is your own personal play style and how comfortable you feel. If you're playing an army and you hate the models you're using because you don't like their design, you hate the rules because you don't think they work really well, you will not play it well. How many times have you played Votann in this recent edition, and you may love the models, but you dislike the rules, and it just means that you're not as invested into the army. You're not feeling that.
Yeah, that's the Votann don't have enough synergies for me, or enough combinations of rules that work very well together. They just kind of do their thing. It's not that they're bad. I know a lot of people have won GTs with them and that sort of thing. They're a pretty solid army. I just don't enjoy playing them right now, so I don't.
And that's a big part of the game. Like, if you're not playing, like, we spend a lot of money on these models. We spend a lot of time painting them, more some than others. But we do spend a lot of effort into them. If you're not enjoying the units you're using, they're not going to play well. You're not going to play well, and you're just going to get swept off the table because of how that feels. So for me, I don't really like that Razorback tank style play. That's why I don't play Iron Hands. That's why I never had. And actually, funny as it is, as much as way back in the day when when it was the Purifier Leaf Blower, you took Castle and Crow. He was a character that could never join a unit. You just took Crow by himself. But then he unlocked the ability to take 6 Purifier squads as troop choices. And then you take the Razorbacks, and then there was the Psy Rifleman Dreadnoughts. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
I have one.
You have one. There you go. Yeah.
I'm familiar.
You took 6 of them at the time. 3 Venerable and 3 Regular. And it was just, and at that time, I remember when that list was popular and that list was doing well, I was running Drago Wing, which was a Death Star of Paladins and Terminators, because I didn't like that playstyle. I didn't like the vehicles. I didn't like the mass of it. So even nowadays, with my Grey Knights that I've had for well over a decade, I have 0 Rhinos and 0 Razorbacks for my Grey Knights, because I'm just like, I'm just going to teleport. I don't need to have this. I'm just going to teleport.
This is the point of uppy downy.
Exactly.
You're uppy and then you're downy.
I still just teleport. Now, these Custodes are going to be a real tough challenge. This is definitely going to show some, I like the aspect of, in a lot of it, if you have a Land Raider, I can ignore the Land Raider. If you have something big, tough, high toughness, high wound count, I can ignore it. This is impossible for me to do now because the entire army is a high wound count. So I have to figure out how to get around that puzzle and if it's even viable at that point. Not to mention, you also have the weapons that kind of AP2 is the cap, realistically. And I don't have any Armor of Contempt style strat, no true silver. You have the AP2 across most of the stuff in your army. So I'm going to be on 4-ups for a good chunk of your army, pretty much.
Yeah. There's not a lot of high AP, just a lot of AP2, especially in the close combat attacks. The Custodes gets up to AP3, but it's just going to be consistency of damage output. You know, once you damage one of my vehicles, he's going to get to reroll all his ones to hit. If he gets below half strength, reroll ones to wound too. So that makes the Custodes very efficient when their weapons and ballistic skills are 2. You know,
a lot of ways it's going to be the combat aspect. I know that your smaller dreadnoughts are more resilient in combat, per se, versus into me, but having things like the hollowed ground to be able to have full rerolls, I can get around some of that, and the hammers hit really hard. If I can get, if I can get the Grandmaster Dreadnought onto the Telemon, that's something that could actually really, really dent him good. You have the 5-up Feel No Pain. I'm gonna make you roll dices with him. Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he reduces damage by 1, and he's got the 5-up Feel No Pain enhancement, so he's pretty tanky.
He is,
but he is still 12 wounds. But it's going to take a lot of those. You have to do a lot of damage to get there.
Yeah, it definitely. So it's going to be very interesting with that aspect of it. Things like the bikes and the Venatari are actually the softest things that you have, which is odd to say because you're playing Custodes. It's like, oh, okay, so the weakest things you have.
Well, it's probably those 4 sisters. That's probably the weakest.
Oh yeah. The 4 sisters. Yeah. I forget about them because I look at your army. They're just like hiding it. They're like, hi,
yeah, they're so small.
All right. Well, we've talked enough. Let's get started and we'll see how this rolls out. Lane, odd or even?
Oh, even. Sorry. I was just watching the die roll. Yeah, that's nice.
It dies spinning. Ooh, but it is odd. So, you have any infiltrators?
Nope.
You have any scout moves?
Nope.
Do you have any infantry?
I do have infantry.
Oh, you do have infantry. Do you have any sick character infantry models?
Character infantry models? No, I don't have any.
So who's your warlord?
The Telemon. He's the biggest boy.
Gotcha. Well,
he's the biggest and the best.
I still want to know where you're going to start putting stuff, even though it kind of doesn't matter as much for Grey Knights. So you can deploy first, and we'll be back after deployment. All right, we are deployed. So before I kick it over to Lane, just so you guys know, we are just continuously moving down the tournament pack for Pariah Nexus in the missions that they have. That's why the deployment and the map are the same. And with that being said, Lane, what are we doing here today?
We are playing the glorious game of Warhammer 40,000. Our deployment today is Tipping Point. I guess this is the Tetris deployment. Our mission special rule is Smoke and Mirrors, which allows us to pick one up after deploying and put it in reserve if we wanted to. I don't think either of us are going to take advantage of that today. And then our primary mission is Purge the Foe. This is kill 1, kill more, hold 1, hold more.
Excellent. So now over into deployments. There I am. So I have the Purifiers in Deep Strike, the Purge in Deep Strike, and the Grandmaster Dreadnought in Deep Strike. And then we have the Strike hiding up here in the corner. And surrounded by some Dreadnoughts. So depending on if I go first or second, how those things get picked up. But that's where we're starting with those guys on the table. And then the Custodes, let's see how many times we mess this up today, is right here. Outside, got her low knot buff, but she's within a 1-inch advance of the objective marker. So yeah, there's that. All right. So that is a Custodes assassin. Lane, what do you have?
On this side, we have some Custodes grav tanks, among some other things. So we kind of lined up here, getting ready to go. Don't want to get shot by those Nemesis Dreadnoughts right away, but just because of the intervening terrain, I think we're pretty safe here. So we're just ready to move out and do some work. So we've got a Galatis Dreadnought, Custodes. We've got the Telemon, who's got the 5-up Feel No Pain enhancement, 3 of the jet bikes, another 3 jet bikes here ready to zoom out, a couple Dreadnoughts, another Custodes, and then the girls ready. Maybe I pull containment. Turn 1, they'll step out and contain. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, so for this lane, would you prefer to go first or second?
I've got these Venatari in Deep Strike that I want a rapid ingress, so second is always better. Same for you, I presume.
Yeah. We're Grey Knights. We like going second because then we can drop on turn 1 or pick up. All right. Oh, no, that's the wrong dice. Hey, look at that. So it looks like I will be going second. Custodes will go first. No scout moves, nothing special. So, Lane, it's time to play the game.
Unfortunately, so very little has happened to turn 1. I pulled Assassination, bring it down. Everybody's way over here. Yeah, I mean, she's out here, but there's no way I could get within 12 to shoot her because I have no ability to advance and shoot with these guys. So, yeah, we just kind of moved everybody up, taking up space here in the middle of the table, get on some objectives, going to live forever, no one's going to die at all. And what I'm going to do at the end of my turn is I'm going to pitch Assassinate, but I'm going to keep bring it down because I like to kill vehicles, and we're going to try to do that. So, on to DJ's turn.
For the Grey Knight turn 1, we're looking at Area Denial and Secure No Man's Land. So, I don't really feel like I'm comfortably able to get to the center. Even though it would have been a lot of points, I probably would be sacrificing anything and everything with it. So I spent a command point to pitch Area Denial. Didn't get much better as it went to bring it down, so we'll probably just pitch that for a CP at the end of the round, because Lane has me very, very well zoned out. There is a Dreadnought back here, too. So for Secure No Man's Land, we're only going to get the 1, but one of the things I'm thinking about is the fact that Lane did not score anything on secondaries for his turn 1, so my little 2 points puts me in the lead. Hey. Anyways, so we picked up all 3 Dreadknights. This guy is actually up top. So he is up top, so he has line of sight, he has range, he has all that great stuff to at least start looking at and hitting the Telemon. He's also on hollowed ground because he's in my home deployment zone. We did move the Custodes up because I don't want to give Lane hold more in his turn. This way we both hold 1 objective in No Man's Land, and I will get Secure No Man's Land for partial. And then I brought these 2 Dread Knights down so they have line of sight and range to go in and try and hurt these bikes. So that is about it. Let's do some shooting, and that'll probably wrap up the turn. So pretty average dice over here, to be honest with you, on the hits and wounds. The silencers at AP0 are going to have a rough time going into the bikes anyways because of the 2-up saves. Both silencers failed to do any damage because we tried to get this guy with 2 wounds left. The first Psy Cannon picked up a bike and left 3 wounds on him. The second Psy Cannon was not as successful. We did get 5 wounds off the first Psy Cannon, only 3 off the second. So I'd probably say that the one with the wounds remaining probably got a bit lucky in there, but honestly, 4-up invuln is a coin toss.
I did spend a CP on a 4-up invuln.
Oh, that is true. That is true. You did, and yeah, it did push a CP out of you for that. So, I mean, but it is a coin toss. So, would have liked to see at least down to 1 bike, but that one's damaged. We got some 2 damage weapons that we have, so at least it's not terrible. We're getting into a better spot. Plus, we didn't have any really kill secondaries. Over here, we did shot at the Telemon, and not terrible. We got them down to 9 wounds. Yeah, so we were able to do 3 damage to him. 1 Psy Cannon bullet went through, and 1 silencer bullet went through. So that was pretty good. We pitched behind enemy lines for a CP. Score only 2 points on Secure No Man's Land. And neither one of us killed a unit in turn 1, sadly. For Purge the Foe. So, well, that's going to be it. Let's kick it over to Lane and his turn 2.
So I kept Bring It Down from last turn, and because I like to kill vehicles, and he's going to have to expose his vehicles at some point. And then I pulled Area Denial for this turn. So, movement, we scooched the jet bikes up here, and when they did, they flew over the Custodes assassin. The thing about assassins is they only have 4 wounds. So we did our fresh and new ability now that we can do the mortal wound bombing on a regular move. So we did that, and I got 2 2-ups. So that's 4 mortal wounds. That picked up the Custodes assassin just like that. So I already got a kill in the movement phase, and then we got the bikes here ready to put some hurting on these Nemesis Dread Knights. We got both Caladius Grav Tanks ready to shoot downtown into them. I spent a CP to advance and charge and shoot with my Telemon. Because DJ's up there, it's a 5-inch vertical engagement. So all I have to do is get up to that wall there, and it's 5 inches. So I'll be able to engage him there and do some punching. And the bikes came up here so they can shoot and charge as well. Depending on how our shooting phase goes, we'll decide whether or not I charge. Probably really need to make sure he's dead, so we'll probably charge with the bikes as well. That's it. Then we just kind of blocked out everything else. I measured everything out so DJ can't drop into my deployment zone really on this side of the table very much so. Yeah, we're going to do some shooting. Hopefully we kill a couple Dread Knights. We already picked up an assassin, like I said, in the movement phase. So on to my shooting. So at the conclusion of my movement phase, DJ did spend a command point to rapid ingress these purifiers. I think he intends to overwatch my bikes if they should try to make a charge into these guys here. I say these guys, but it's really just this guy.
With a single wound remaining.
Yeah. It turns out the Custodes grabs tank shoot really well.
Really?
DJ did not spike his invuln saves or anything. I did get 2 through on the first guy. I rolled a 6 and a 2 on the damage, and I CP re-rolled the damage roll to ace the first one with the first Custodes. Second one did a lot of damage and took the bike shooting at this guy to get him down to 2 wounds, so he's still there. The 3 bikes here shot the fella up top. The twin linked on the bikes salvo launchers at strength 10 just gives them that extra level of efficiency. So they got him down to 1 wound, and then just enough shots from the Talamon just shot him and finished off that last wound there. So we did that. The only thing left to do is to make the charge here, to go for it and see if we can finish this guy off. So that's what we're going to do. What's that a CP for? Oh, an Overwatch.
CP reroll on an Overwatch.
Okay, very well.
Surprise, surprise.
So, as predicted, we were overwatched on the way in. The new higher toughness on the bikes was very relevant because they are now T7, and the flamers for purifiers are strength 6. They're incinerators. So he was wounding on 5s. He did pick up one of the bikes, and but this guy lived, took 1 wound here from a storm bolter or something, but he did make his charge into the Nemesis Dread Knight. He only had 2 wounds left. I did do 4 wounds. I rolled pretty hot on my attacks, and DJ did fail 2 of them for me. So bring it down. We got 6 points because we picked up 1, 2, 3 vehicles, and we got 4 kills for Purge the Foe because we did pick up the Custodes as well. Area Denial we scored as well. Big turn for scoring here. So we got 11 on secondaries, and probably going to kill more. We'll see. DJ is going to have to kill 4 units to shut off my kill more. So on to his turn, though.
So not a good turn on secondaries for me. Containment and cleanse are what I'm looking at. So we're going to just take this as a turn to do some damage. Otherwise, we're not going to survive very long. So we brought everything in. We did leave both the strike and the purifiers on the table. So we moved the strike up, and they're going to charge into whatever remains here. And the nice thing is with the Brotherhood champion, he is anti-character, got some anti-character stuff. So Talamon's a character. That'll be nice.
He sure is.
And then we got these bikes here we got to kind of deal with. So we spent a command point. We brought the purifiers down within 6 inches. Yes, they're hollowed ground, but they do not have hollowed ground in Deep Strike. They got to actually, I think, be on the field for it. So they utilized it off of these bros who stayed on the ground already. They moved up, so we're looking at like a 6-inch charge on the Custodes. These guys have a 6-inch charge into the Custodes or the bikes, depending on how lane pulls when I shoot. And then we brought the Grandmaster Dread Knight in, and he has the ability to target a unit and count them as hollow ground. He's probably going to do that in the fight phase with the strike, because we got one little dude hanging out over here. See him? And so he can see him. And yeah. Oh, and then we brought the Purge back here. As for lane, he rapid ingress for free and brought the Venatari in back here so that they can jump and join in the middle, since that's kind of where the action seems to be going. All right, first things first, we got guns, and they need to be shoot. This bike is invincible, I swear. I shot the Purifiers and the Dread Knight at him, and was not able to take him down. He's down to 1 wound. Then over here, we were only able to pick up 1 bike with all of our shooting. I neglected to spend a command point for the full rerolls to wound on these Purifiers. Probably should have. in hindsight. Kind of second guessing that one, but well, maybe we'll need that CP for a reroll on a charge, because now we're going into the charge phase. And we're going to charge and see if we can't do some damage. All right, so charges were interesting. So we did charge over here with the purifiers. We were successful. And we smacked. We were able to drop it down to 8 wounds with just, AP2 weapons and such. Over here. So we charged with the Brotherhood, with the strike, and we kept them in range, and we charged with the purifiers. With the purifiers, we leaned them out a little bit where we weren't able to get the bikes because they were a 9-inch charge. But then when we piled in, we were able to pile in with the purge to tag the bikes, spent the command point to go full rerolls to wound on the purifiers, and completely wiped out the bikes wholeheartedly, actually. And then we took down we took Telemann down to 3 wounds. Not quite enough to finish him off. So that's going to be it for my turn. Looks like I'm getting smacked around a little bit this week. So I probably deserve it after 2 smackings in a row. Yeah, this Custode list is pretty tough. Well, let's see what Lane does back, and if I have any units left after this turn.
So for this turn, I pulled Extend, Battle Lines, and Cleanse. I don't think we're going to be able to cleanse, mostly because this guy failed his Battle Shock, so he can't do any cleansing. The girls I had to advance up here, so they're not going to be able to cleanse. So we're just going to see what we can kill. Move the position of the dreads here for next turn. But this Gladius is going to shoot the guys that he's in combat with. This Gladius advanced over here to get on this objective. Venatari coming up to mix it up a little bit, so see if we can shred some of these dudes what are on the table. And yeah, time to shoot. Not a great turn for the fight phase here. These guys fought first and picked up the Telemann. The Venatari fought first and killed some of these purifiers, but not a lot of them. And when they punched back, they picked up 2 of the Venatari.
Because now it triggered, they're below 50%, so then they're +1 to wound as well.
These guys interrupted. They only picked up 1 of the Venatari, though. Did a couple wounds to the tank. The punchback, we picked up 4 of them, so not enough damage output for what I wanted. I guess I kind of had a lot of my dreadnoughts way back here late, to kind of block out some of the deep striking and that sort of thing from DJ. So I got to move them up so they can start contributing, because they're going to have to pick up the slack. Dreadnoughts going to have to do some work. We did extend battle lines, though. Like I said, we're not doing cleanse. I'm going to pitch cleanse. I'm going to want to kill, so I'm going to want that extra CP. So on to DJ's turn.
At this point, I'm kind of in the mindset that the only way I'm going to be able to take this game is if I can clear the majority of Lane's army and score late into the game. So we only picked up the Purge squad. We moved the strike up. They're going to charge into the tank, more or less to just kind of tie it up and weaken it a bit. Also, we do have some good damage output coming out of there. We left the purifiers in combat on both sides of the coin. We'll just have to see what we do and how we get hit from the Venatari. At least they don't have a lance now on the charge, so that's a positive, and we'll go from there. Over here, we move the Dread Knight, the Grandmaster, up. He is going to shoot and potentially charge. We did bring the Purge down over here safely, so they can just kind of remove the Sisters of Silence and go from there. This way, the Dread Knight, if we're not too reliable in shooting, we at least can guarantee it with the Purge, hopefully. So that's kind of it. Our secondaries are Assassinate and Containment. I don't see much being there. I could have done Containment with the Purge, but I just want to clear some stuff out of the way and try and score late into the game, because we surprisingly were able to do a bit of damage back in my turn and in Lane's turn. So I feel like there's a chance, but I gotta keep the pedal to the floor right now. So, all right, let's start shooting. All right, so we kind of rolled this all into one because shooting didn't do too much. We threw a grenade at this tank and then shot at it. The grenade was really the only damage for 3 mortals, and then everything else was locked in combat until we get over here. So, first thing we did was shoot with the Purge at the Sisters of Silence. And Lane goes and says, "Hey DJ, are those psychic weapons by any chance?" Which meant that he had a 3-up Feel No Pain. And 1 sister lived. So then I had to put the Dread Knight into him. And the Dread Knight was only able to do 2 wounds because dice. And the first side cannon,
3 damage.
3 damage, he stopped all of it.
Yeah.
And then the second side cannon finished him off. Her off. And then we charged, and now in the fight phase, we charged, popped that one wound remaining Mr. Bike. And then over here, we did charge, and man, the strike are tough. The strike wrecked the Caladius. But the Brotherhood champion, having that the Radiant champion effect, was able to do 2 mortal. He got 2 wounds that did mortal wounds, and then Lane failed both the saves, so that was 6 damage right there. And then the squad, entirely wounding on 5s, was able to just push enough through to finish it off. Lane then went over here and struck with the Venatari, bringing us down to just 2 guys in Castle and Crow. I spent a command point to go +1 to our reroll wounds with these guys, since it was my fight phase, and they were able to pick up the Caladius tank and leave us with just 1 dude with 1 wound. Tried to spend the 1 command point to pop the fire with Crow, and rolled a 2, so that failed to finish that guy off. Then over here, we were elected to fight with them before Lane could fight, and finished off that last little Venatari. So we are doing well to pick stuff up, but Lane does still have 3 hunky, chunky dreadnoughts that are -1 to hit in combat coming across the field. So we'll see how that plays out, but at least we are kind of getting the pushback, so that's a good thing. All right, that's it for my turn, and we'll kick it over to Lane and the top of 4.
So for this turn, I pulled Storm Hostile Objective and Defend Stronghold. Defend Stronghold's an easy one, guys, except I have opted out of defending my stronghold and opted in to destroying my enemy. So we're just going to go for Storm Hostile Objective, obviously. So I moved this Dreadnought up here. I did spend 1 CP to advance and shoot and charge with this guy. He's going for the Nemesis Dreadnought. This fella jumped up here. Yeah, time to punch some there. DJ did do some damage to me because he popped his, if I end to move within 6 inches of these guys, I take mortals. So he took 1 and he took 2. Yeah.
Tried to overwatch
the Venatari passes Battle Shock, and he can fall back, shoot, and charge. So he's going to fall back and see if he can pick on those guys a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of shooting here and see what happens. So we rolled the shooting and the fight phase here together. He did do some work with his shooting. The Achilles' shooting is pretty decent because he's got the 2 twin Adrathic Destructors and the Lance. So he did a little bit of damage, and then he charged in. He does impact mortals as well. And then when he's fighting, he had 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and he had the Lance at strength 12, so he was wounding on 2s. So we did pick up the Nemesis Dreadnought in combat. He charged in, slapped really hard, and picked up the guys. He gets 8 attacks. And again, because he's below full strength, he's rerolling 1s to hit, so very consistent. And with the sustain going on, he got more 8 attacks. I think he got 10 or 11 hits. And my boy here charged in. I did tank shock with him, so he it rolled really hot on the tank shock. What did I get, 6? Yeah, I got 6 mortals on the out of these T9s.
That guy rolled really hot.
Yeah. But again, he had 9 attacks because the enhancement, rerolling 1s to hit because he was wounded. So he got sustained on like 3 of them. So he had like 11 hits. Even though he's below half strength now, he's rerolling 1s to wound as well. So wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. We picked up the squad, including the character there as well. So, yep. Venatari failed to kill any of these guys, and they killed him back. So that's it. We got a Dreadnought. DJ's got those 4 guys. We got a Dreadnought. I got a Dreadnought. And then
picked up the Purge.
Picked up the Purge. They went up in outer space. I did abandon my own thing here, so I'm going to pitch Defense Stronghold. Then I did successfully Storm Hostile.
So as Lane said, I picked up the Purge, and I decided to drop him on his home field objective. This was an easy way to be able to get hollowed ground. And I decided, well, we got this objective. We're hollowed ground. Might as well shoot. And they shot, and well, they took him out. Nicely done, boys. So we didn't have to charge in here. I was debating if I wanted to go spend my command point on reroll 1s to wound, or if I want, or I'm sorry, reroll wounds, or if I wanted to throw a grenade, and I didn't have to do either one of them. So we got our points for Assassinate, and we'll kick it over to Lane in his turn 5.
I pulled Recover Assets and marked for death, so I spent a CP to pitch Recover Assets and pulled Establish Locus. So with DJ only having 2 units on the table, they were both marked for death. This dude, I definitely had enough CP so that I could advance and charge with him, and then also tank shock. Tank shock was really hot again, so I did 6 mortals on the tank shock. Picked up the rest of the guys by punching them a lot. DJ did try overwatching. He overwatched and got me down to 4 wounds, which meant that I was then rerolling ones to wound as well. So lots of interesting interactions in this game with getting me below half strength, letting me reroll ones to wound. Super relevant. So, yeah, so we got a kill. We got the mark for death. This guy got over here to establish the locus. That's the end of my turn. On to DJ.
All right, so for my final turn, first thing I did was I spent a command point to auto-pass the battle shock with these guys. Had to have them. So I picked them up off the table. I knew it was a long shot. The game was basically over, but I was going to try and make a play. We had no prisoners and overwhelming force as our last 2 cards. So we landed, and if you notice, this play worked out. We landed the purifiers back here. We failed the first charge, then we re-rolled it, and we stuck the charge. And we were +1 to wound, so we were wounding on 4s. And surprisingly, we shot with bolters, and we did damage too, which was nice. So he was down to 3 wounds. And then we finished him off in combat with these 4 little purifiers, making their day. So at the end of this bloody battle, all we have left is 4 purifiers and this solo dreadnought. Pretty sure if we went into one more turn, he'd just come busting through the wall like Kool-Aid Man and rip those guys off the table. But that's not the case as the game ends. And although we made a strong pushback with the Grey Knights, it is a Custodes victory with a final score, Custodes 73 to a Grey Knight 66. Very bloody, I got hit hard super early. Surprised I was able to actually make that much of a comeback. I was able to hit really hard with the purifiers. But in the end, those dreadnoughts that Lane held back were the bee's knees. And maybe if I didn't use that strat, honestly, to do a little bit of damage, one of those Melta shots that hit my Dreadnought would have missed, and Grandmaster might have gotten a chance to smack back. So, all right, guys, that's it. Follow us over the post game. Here are our thoughts on this. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.